I've been asking myself for a while now, do full tang, hatchets, and axes have any true standalone capability? Or is it just better to go with a dedicated midweight survival knife or a traditional style axe or hatchet? Now, full tang axes and hatchets are nothing new. S-Wing introduced these decades ago and have probably been on more campouts than almost any other tool in America. And dozens of manufacturers have followed suit over the years, with CABELAS just being the most recent with this Bushcraft hatchet. So it really made sense for me when I got this hatchet to compare it to another CABELAS Bushcraft series chopper, because these both are going to be sporting 5160 steel. They're both made in the USA. They have similar, almost identical actually, handle ergonomics. There are so many similarities. I said to myself, this would be a great test to compare a midweight survival knife to a compact full tang chopper hatchet design. And so I've been looking forward to this unscientific experiment for quite some time to answer the question for many of us: do full tang hatchets make sense, or is it better just to go with a midweight survival knife? We're going to find out today. If you're new to the channel, welcome. I'm Aaron. This is Gideonstactical. Let's dive in. Now let's begin by introducing you to the two tools that we're going to be comparing. Again, this CABELAS hatchet is going to come in at 11 inches from top to bottom, 5160 steel, great impact resistant high carbon steel. And CABELAS claims a 58 to 60 HRC, which I have now tested a few in this Bushcraft series, and it's pretty impressive. And then we are looking at 3 inches of cutting edge on 0.23 stock thickness all the way through. Again, full tang construction. And you are also going to be looking at 18.5 ounces with bolt-on micarta handle scales. And I will be honest, probably one of the best Kydex sheaths I've ever seen on a hatchet. This thing slips in very nicely, locks into place, comes with a form of a Blade Tech lock and a shock cord to keep it all into place. You could absolutely trek around your property or around a campsite with this, and is one of the better scabbards I've ever seen. So all of those things, and they're USA made, and 120 bucks, that's what I paid for it. Pretty impressive. And then on the flip side, we have our previously reviewed CABELAS Bushcraft chopper. I'll link that video if you want to do a deep dive into that. It's also sporting 5160, same HRC. We're looking at 7 inches of cutting with that kind of kukri recurve design. It's going to be 11.5 ounces, so 7 ounces lighter, a little bit thinner as well, 0.19 on the stock thickness, but they're going to be sharing the same bolt-on micarta handle scales and a really well-designed Kydex sheath, USA made. The whole setup right there, and about the same price, 120 bucks. So this is actually one of the best American-made survival knife values you're going to find in 2025. Very impressed with this blade. So now that we've met both contestants, let's look at the first task that we would assume any type of hatchet, regardless if it was full tang or not, would excel in, and that would be chopping. Shaping of wood, delimbing, cutting down branches, maybe even felling small trees, whatever it may be. And this hatchet can definitely get the job done. It has decent enough weight, and it has a full flat grind on the face. There's no secondary transitions. Some full tang axes would have something like that. On this Joker, that's what we see. And what that means is that it actually does a really good job of biting in deep. The one issue as I began to use that you discover with any full tang axe is the balance point. The balance point on most of these type of axes is way closer to the handle. There you go. That's the balance point on this hatchet versus traditional hatchets. They're going to have all the weight up front, giving you full focus on that weight and inertia to the impact point. It's spread out over a further distance on a full tang hatchet. And so the true question is, does a full tang hatchet outchop a similar sized full tang survival knife? And so I took a 2x4 and we did 20 swings a piece. So I started right here with the hatchet, got good penetration, good chunks being removed after that 20 swings, and we went just shy of an inch deep. So then I went to the Bushcraft chopper, 20 swings, and you will see here that there is almost no difference in depth. There's one grain line difference in the 20 swings worth of depth. The hatchet is making a broader notch, removing a little bit more meat with each swing, but depth really isn't an issue. And then I wanted to see how that would stack up to, say, other full tang hatchets like that Joker. And we saw that it was actually even worse, not quite as shallow. So that full flat grind face on the CABELAS hatchet is actually a better design for full tang hatchets, is what I am seeing. And then finally, the S-wing was actually the worst. Went the shallowest and removed the least amount of meat. So that's a really easy test right there when it comes to chopping, to answer the question for me, that the CABELAS can easily out-chop an S-wing and a lot of other full tang hatchets, but pretty obvious that the extra 7 ounces of weight on this hatchet don't really improve its chopping power compared to this survival knife. And if you were to put them both on a table and say, hey, which one do you want to chop a bunch with, I'd actually go with the survival knife because it's lighter. I can swing it with less fatigue. Well, then what's the next thing that we would expect a hatchet to do really well would be splitting of kindling and wood compared to batoning. I know there's a whole group of people out there who think you should never baton with a fixed blade. And that's where you obviously would want a hatchet, is to be able to split down kindling. Okay, well, we'll get to that in just a moment. But before we do that, I want to thank the sponsor of today's video, which is HUCKBERRY. And now through July 29th, they are running their summer sale where you can score up to 35% off some amazing pieces of gear and equipment that I've been telling you about all year. And I want to point out a few of my favorites, including deals on Mystery Ranch packs. And if you're not aware, Yeti bought them out, so when they're gone, along with the GR2 Go Ruck exclusive to HUCKBERRY. And a lot of my favorite apparel is on sale as well, like Welland's sun hoodies that I've used hiking, backpacking, and fishing, and their active shorts that you can use as swim trunks, or I often work out and hike with, along with much of the merino wool apparel from Proof that is excellent as not only activewear clothing, but also as base layers as the temperatures turn, along with tons of footwear like Extra Tough's deck boots, which are great when you're working in the muck and the grime or you're on deck. And that's just the tip of the iceberg. So I'll have a link popping up as well as in the description box below where you can start exploring all the different pieces of gear and apparel that are on sale right now over at HUCKBERRY, so you can really dial in the gear and equipment you need for all of your upcoming adventures. So I went to town with this 3-inch blade splitting wood. And can it split? Yes. The white pine that we have here out west, which is not super dense, with one swing usually I could get through a piece of firewood. You know, every once in a while it would take maybe 1 or 2 more extra impacts, which can happen on a small sub-foot long basically hatchet. And the one benefit is that because it's full tang, you can, if you have to, as long as you can span the piece of wood with the head of the blade, you can hit it and split kindling that way as well, kind of in the form of a batoning motion, whereas you don't want to be doing that and impacting the handle on a traditional hatchet or axe that can loosen it all up and cause lots of problems. So sure, can it split minor kindling? Yes. Here is my heavy pushback to that concept, and in my opinion, the CABELAS chopper survival knife is just a better option because we're not getting that much thicker tangs. I'm working with 7 inches of spanning power right here. 5160 is going to be able to handle anything. And what I have to do with energy and inertia to get a split with this hatchet is a gross motor skill, and there's absolutely a lot of times where you're missing, you're misstriking, you're ricocheting, and potential injury starts to go way up. I don't care how skilled you are as an outdoorsman and a hatchet worker, you're, Paul Bunyan himself, does not matter. That is immediately something that is a potential red flag, and you have to have a lot of skill to be able to use this appropriately and split the type of kindling that you would want. Whereas I can span larger pieces of wood, I am not using a gross motor skill because I am holding onto the blade. I am striking with a piece of wood that if I ricochet, I bounce off, it's not going to injure me anyway like a hatchet would. And I can split actually larger diametered pieces of wood. So I would argue that when it comes to splitting, I will take this survival knife over this hatchet every day of the week for the type of kindling that you're going to be able to process with this hatchet. Again, it's beginning to become pretty clear that these hatchets that are full tang at best match what a good midweight survival knife can do in chopping and splitting, and sometimes are even outperformed by those tools. I want to hit ergonomics, and the one area where I do see this beating out a midweight survival knife in certain applications. Now, unlike a lot of other full tang designs that sometimes can be tricky to hold on to, they really did a good job giving you an indexing portion right here. My Carta handle scales with 0 hot spots, really well scalloped, fell out my large size hands very well, and I never felt like it was flying out of my hand just because of the trajectory and the way that you're using the tool. Now, these do not come with lanyard holes, and in fact, the entire series of Bushcraft knives and hatchet does not come with a lanyard hole, so I actually had to drill that out. Thankfully, they are skeletonized underneath, so I was able to tap that and throw a lanyard. I just wanted that on the chopper. I felt like it helped give me a little bit extra inertia. As a quick disclaimer, don't go with the camp knife that is the cheapest model, but that did not perform well. If you're going to go with a model that we've tested so far, the chopper is the best, and then they have a big giant like machete that you could look into as well. I will have an affiliate link popping up if you are interested in those, but that cheap like sub $100 one, don't go with it. Or I have a video on that, I'll try and link it. Okay, so where does this excel? I actually think that it would be a good tool in a survival kit for like end of the world apocalypse, basically as a breaching tool. So this is easily going to outperform if I had to get through walls, if I had to hack through material, break through locks, and do that type of stuff. Getting into secure locations, I feel like this would absolutely outperform something like this, and it definitely is not going to be something I would prefer to do with a traditional axe. I could do it, but this is just going to give me a lot more durability and strength on crazy impacting like that through man-made, not natural material. And obviously, God forbid, self-defense, a hatchet is one of the easiest gross motor skill tools to use in that post-apocalyptic world that, you know, we pray never happens, but might as well be prepared for. That is where I see this potentially actually making sense. Other than that, in general applications of camping at your property, going out on a camp out, doing whatever, if you were to ask me between these two, they're the same cost, same materials, USA made, all that, the survival knife is the easy choice. It's an easy winner. That is me. That is my mileage. This test has proved it to me, and I hope it has given you good food for thought and consideration, and also give me some good entertainment as well. Appreciate you guys hanging with me today. If you have not yet subscribed, I invite you to do so. Putting up videos every week. Check out the other video popping up. And until next time, always remember to stay equipped, stay prepared, and I'll see you out there.